And now, direct from the International Blind Cafe, welcome to The Cauldron.
Oh God.
I
dear.
got it. I win first prize on that one. Thanks, Scout. Oh, you know what, guys? I am absolutely freezing. I mean, it's really nice and sunny out, but the wind's cold. And I was at an in-person meeting for people with sight loss in my local community. And we don't have public transportation, no buses, nothing like that. We have cabs and we have what's called Chad, which is like the parabus or whatever it's called. And if you're not stood outside when they pull up waiting, they'll leave. And you have to fit into their schedule. And they're never on time. So I stood outside, and of course, foolish me went out in a dress and nylons and all the rest of it. And oh my gosh, I'm so cold. But that is one of the things that just drives me is the transportation issue. What do you think, Elizabeth?
I think that is
You're-
actually. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Oh no, go ahead. I just had a story. I'm sorry, because this makes me angry just thinking about what you just said and about where you don't have accessibility where you live. I live in Chicago where we have tons of accessibility. Publicly, we have an L train, we have regular train, buses, cabs. Okay. When I was losing my vision and the Department of Human Services for Chicagoland area, the criteria is that they want to teach you how to take the train into downtown Chicago. Doesn't matter if that's not something that you ever did in your whole life, which I never did. I didn't work down there. I don't shop down there. My life was not there. And I tried to ask them if they could teach me the routes to where I live and I used to do. And I was told no. And I had to try to learn to take the train and to navigate through our huge train station by myself. And then at the end, they want you to take a train trip by yourself. It was beyond daunting. It was not something that I would use. It's not a one shop fix. Not everybody needs the same accessibility. It doesn't work for everybody. And
No.
I was told I failed the class. My instructor, I failed to take the train. And all I kept asking is, but I would never take the train after you teach me this. You know,
I actually fail you for.
Oh yeah, I was
that.
done. I was done with the program. They didn't want to work with me further at all.
What?
I had social workers calling me to ask me maybe I needed therapy. And I mean, I was like crying. I'm like, no, teach me the routes around my home that I can do. And we do have, I think it's called here, paratransit. And I agree with you, Julie. If you want to use it, you have to work on their schedule.
Yeah.
That's it, everything. But I just, to this day, even just talking about it hurt me. It really damaged my self-esteem that I was not going to be able to make it as a blind person now. Like I couldn't do this thing, but I could not imagine having to have to do that. It was horrible. So yeah, it was a bad one.
I'm really sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah.
And you're right, it is not a one fix for everybody that's living with sight loss. We're all at different stages. We all have different comfort levels.
Different needs, right?
Yeah. That must have been terrifying.
It was. It was.
So let's just start with 2 legs and a heartbeat for transportation. Morgan, I know that you live in an area like I do that's, we're on the East Coast. Sidewalks and roads are in disrepair where I live. I don't know if it's like that with you. So
Yes,
how do
definitely.
you find when you're trying to travel with your cane? When it's
Summer is okay, besides the fact that even with a jumbo roller tip, you still end up jabbing yourself in the stomach with your cane because of the cracks.
Yeah.
But winter is terrible. They do not clear it off. They, one year, I actually had to cross a roundabout, which is a whole nother issue, just trying to get across roundabout. Crossed it, got to the other side, and my cane hit snow, and I was like, okay, I have to step over this. Yeah, that snow was knee height that I had to step over to get onto the sidewalk on the other side. They do not clear, they do not care about people with sight loss or who are in a
No.
wheelchair. It's just terrible. So I don't know what it's like for you, Julie, but for me, it is just not a good situation.
It's not. I really struggle to even walk anywhere on my own. If I get driven to the park or a trail that I'm used to, then I'm okay. But to get from my house anywhere on my own, nope.
Yep.
What about you, Elizabeth?
I have to admit, I don't go anywhere on my own. We live right beside quite a busy road, and I mean really busy. And the sidewalk is not terribly good. And if you reached out, you could probably touch the cars going by, and they're always speeding. So I must admit, I usually rely on family and friends, and I have taken a taxi here and there, but I will, as much as I can, have people come to me.
Yeah.
But travel, what about like traveling abroad? Have any of you done, air travel?
I've done air travel few times since I lost my sight. The TSA, it was funny. They wanted me to put my cane through the X-ray thing.
Yeah.
And my husband's like, she needs it. And they're like, no. And then he got mad. He's like, well, then you're gonna walk her across, right? Because how else? And they're like, oh, okay. But they were like looking at it and like trying to pull it apart. Like and you can't joke with a TSA. You cannot make a funny joke like, oh, the bombs. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Maybe
But
drugs inside
yeah,
it.
yeah. It was a bit daunting. And as far as going abroad, that's a sore subject for me, or touchy. Like I miss that was one part of the world I did not see. And my sister is like, you could still go, and I know I can, but it's such a visual to go to Italy or Scotland or Ireland or Greece. I can't see it. I just don't know if I would be able to emotionally handle it because I can't see the sunset or the history. And I just I'm shying away from even trying to do it, as much as I could
Yeah.
enjoy the other aspects of it.
Unless
I
you're
don't know.
going on an eating holiday.
Well, exactly, which is fine, because I'm all for that. But you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's my perspective on it. What about you guys?
I have never been abroad flying, but I do have a little hack for people who are blind, who are traveling abroad or anywhere through big airports. Ask
Ooh,
for a wheelchair,
yeah,
because if you need assistance getting around, it is harder for them to identify you as someone who is blind or low vision. Like people see a cane but they don't always know what it means, but they see someone in a wheelchair and they think, "Oh, that person needs assistance." So
excellent.
not only do
Yes.
you get a free ride, and not have to walk, because we all know those terminals are no joke,
Yeah,
but it makes you more viewable as someone who needs assistance. So that's just my little hack.
excellent idea.
We
Can
did
I
go
just
to, sorry,
go
I was
ahead?
going to say, we
No,
did
no.
go to Cuba a few years ago when I had lost most of my vision, and that was difficult. The airports were awesome. If you identify yourself as being blind, then you basically get to board first, so you're not being trampled. But like Morgan said, a lot of people are like, well, why is she getting to go first? because I might have had my cane in my pocket, right? And my husband beside me, and they're trying to push ahead. And I think my son was like, hey, like, back off. But when we got to Cuba, it was a little scary as well, because getting into the country is quite strict. They have guards with guns, and each person has to go through a locked door by yourself to get your photo taken when you go in to the country and when you leave. And the guard just said to me, through that door. And I'm like, I need help. And he's like, no, you have to go through that door by yourself. And my husband's like, look, wait a minute. You know, she needs help. And finally, he's like, okay, no problem. And I'm like, well, why didn't you just say that in the first place?
Yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, traveling, I mean, the hotels were awesome and the tour guides. But like Stephanie said, it's hard when you can't see when you're going sightseeing, and
Yeah.
but the food was great, and but
Yeah.
still you miss out on a lot.
So I have traveled quite a bit in this country and abroad. But I find in this country flying, because our eldest, I know I keep saying this, Donna, but my eldest daughter, she's in the military, so they get posted all over the place. So, and I'm on the East Coast. Her husband and her, he's military also, and their two babies have been on Edmonton, Vancouver Island, Ottawa, Quebec, and Alberta, back to Alberta. So I fly, and I quite often in the beginning would fly on my own because, I'd go and spend quite a bit of time there. And I have to say, Canadian Airlines, the air stewards, what do they call them? Oh my gosh, I don't know if that's the right word for them now. But I've never had a complaint. They've always gone above and beyond. Like, huge shout out to WestJet, Air Canada, and Porter Airlines. They help me. They're really, they take away the embarrassment as well. I have to call the bell and say I need help to get to the washroom. And it's not that I can't find my way there, but when you're trying to walk down an aeroplane that isn't stable with your cane, and I mean, I knocked somebody's drink out of their hand once. And what the stewards do is they walk backwards, and they have gloves on. They have the latex gloves on, so they hold your hands. And the first time it happened, the guy said to me, do you want to dance? And we danced up and down the aisle, goofing around like it was. They make you feel like it's no big deal. It's no big thing. They're having fun doing it. And then when we flew to England last August, that was a whole other experience in England. The accessibility was above and beyond. I mean, on a train, it was they met us at the door. It didn't matter that I had people with me. They guided me to where I needed to go. They stayed the whole train journey, got me off the other end and to the exit at Houston, I think it was, that we ended up at. And the people from the hotel met us at the door at the rail station and escorted us to the hotel.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. The same at the airport. It was, you go to the assistive travel desk and everything up there, it shows a person in a wheelchair with a cane, with sight loss, with hearing loss. I mean, it doesn't matter. It shows all abilities are served through this department.
And That's
Yeah,
how
it
it
should
should
be
be.
like that.
That's how it should be. They should have like liaisons or somebody, an actual department where other, we have just as much right to travel and to travel safely and, to be able to enjoy the experience. I know
Yeah,
traveling can be exhausting for anybody, but for
yeah,
us, it's nerve-wracking, and some people do not, they treat you like you're a nuisance. At least that's been some of my experiences, like,
yeah.
oh, really? Come on, and like you said, Elizabeth, if you're not
Mhm.
directly like, I don't know, holding a cane or have a sign up, I'm blind. If you're walking like with your partner, they're like, what's wrong with why is she getting, to
Yeah,
go
Preferential.
first?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not.
Mm.
And then you get those people in those places like you experienced, Julie, that just knock it out of the park.
Oh
And
my gosh. It so
yeah, how do you find
I
such
don't
wonderful service like that?
so when we were in England, it was every transportation system you called ahead of time and said you needed, like when we booked the train tickets, I need assistance because I have sight loss, and um, they met us off the train and took us on the golf cart up
Mhm.
to where we had to go next and that kind of stuff. But there's a number, there's an accessibility number for every transportation,
Yeah.
and it's the same here as well in Canada for flights. I've never traveled via rail in Canada, but for flights, it's they have their own special department. And I don't know about the States, Steph, or any other
Yeah, I
countries, but
no.
here in Canada,
Mm.
with Air Canada and WestJet, whomever flies with us flies basically for free. They just pay the taxes.
See, I would have to
So
look into
Wow.
that. That is something
that
I will look into.
that is
Definitely.
fantastic. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't, even though I can fly to England, for 5 hours less than what it would take me to get to Vancouver Island because of changes and all the rest of it.
Mhm.
It doesn't apply if you fly out of the country, which is something that really
Swear.
bugs
Yeah.
me. We need to start writing some letters about that. What's the difference?
Yeah, what is the difference?
Yeah.
Well,
So,
and
like
it's
with
less.
everything, you have to just prepare ahead, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And don't you
Right?
find that's
Traveling.
very common for everything we do, guys? Like Morgan, if you wanted to go, oh, I want to go buy a new outfit for a date on Saturday night, you have to plan it. You can't just jump in your car or
Yeah.
jump on the bus and go. You have to plan the logistics
Yeah.
of how you're going to get there.
And for me, my bus system is horrible. Like when I was
Mhm.
first testing out the bus as part of my O&M lessons, and O&M, for those that don't know, is orientation and mobility. Um, and I had done it with my instructor. She said, try it out with your mom so you have someone there and then you can do it by yourself. So I did. And we went to the mall, which was getting on the bus. It's horrible because their online times, it's not accessible, their page. So I can't really see what time the bus is coming.
Mhm.
And then they have their times posted, those tiny little letters on the pole that basically
Mhm.
says this is the bus stop. Can't see that either. So it's kind of my mom looks it up for me, right? Anyways, so we get on the bus, we go to the mall, we're there for like maybe 10, 20 minutes, we leave, and she checks when the next bus is coming. It's going to be over an hour. That's how bad our
Oh
transportation is. So we
gosh.
just walked home from the mall because it took less time to walk home than it would be for me to take the bus. So yeah, I
Mm.
can't just hop on a bus when I feel like it. I have to have my mom or someone else
Mm-hmm.
look it up for
Yeah.
me when a bus is coming, get on that bus, and then try to figure out, okay, when's the bus leaving so I'm not standing around or I don't miss it and then have to call a cab.
Mm.
So Morgan, if you get on a bus, um, or if you're waiting for a bus, does it announce which bus is arriving and where it's going? And does it announce each stop?
It does in the bigger cities, like here it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
also
does
there's a
here.
good online app that gives you,
Okay.
you know, I think it's through like Google Maps even, and it gives you real time when the buses arrive.
Yeah.
But
Have
yeah,
any
have
of
you
you
ever?
guys done rideshare, your own Uber, Lyft, whatever?
No.
I've never done it by myself, and I'm a little afraid to even
So
attempt it. I don't know.
to get an Uber or a ride share, is there a difference? I'm so sorry. Here I am, country
I don't.
bumpkin.
I
What's the
think they just,
difference?
it's all different names. Rideshare. Well, no, actually, I take that back. I think the rideshare, correct me if I'm wrong, is you can actually, the driver can pick up more than one fare and you don't necessarily know them, which I don't think I would ever do under any
Mhm.
circumstances. But
No.
like Lyft or Uber, they're basically the same
Yeah.
thing here.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I've
we
never
do
done
not.
it by myself.
No,
Like, no.
we
I don't
don't
think that I
have
would.
that service here. Unfortunately. Um, I mean, I've used Uber when I've been in Calgary visiting my son, or when I've been visiting my daughter. But
Yeah.
I
I've
mean,
heard some horror stories from
have
members
you
in the
really?
US,
Yeah.
like single women being taken off their route, and they know they're going off the route by their phones, right? And yeah, it scared a few of them pretty badly.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I
even if you don't have a phone, you know where you are when you're
Yes.
driving a route you're used to from A to B.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
recognize if you go around a certain bend, it's like, oh, we must have just gone around St. John's
Yeah.
Crossing or whatever. That's horrible. That's
Yeah.
horrendous.
Speaking
Yeah.
of road travel, like road trips, would you guys do this? I was just reading this morning that the car company Honda has a new app, and they're doing beta testing in the US only right now, but it's called Scenic Advisor. And basically, it describes the scenery as you're driving to the blind or visually impaired.
That
Wouldn't
is so
that be
cool.
cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
They're
be very
actually
cool.
testing it on one of the blind schools in the US. I cannot remember the city, but if you Google it, it's called Honda Scenic Advisor.
Oh, that's
And it's
awesome.
actually Honda that's doing that.
Yes,
Way
it
to
is.
go,
Yes.
Honda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
way to go,
Great.
Honda.
Yeah.
All right.
But
The
there's a little
ladies of the
YouTube video,
Cauldron
and it
support
does
you.
tell you in quite a lot of description what you're passing.
That would be very
Yeah.
cool.
So
Yeah.
while we're talking about road trips, because that's something that my husband and I will do. I mean, we think we'll get in the car and drive the 9 hours to where the grandkids are right now.
Mhm.
Public washrooms when you're on a road trip. Like, that to me is powder transportation. Everybody needs to use the washroom. And you people in these rest stops and garages and all the other places need to get your poop in a group, literally, when it comes to your washrooms,
Yeah.
because they're terrible. I get
God.
lost in a washroom all the time. Jim,
Yeah, I
my
know.
husband will open the door and say, "You lost?" Yep. Okay, and walk towards my voice.
But the horrible thing is you have to touch everything to find it.
Oh,
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it's not.
Yes.
gross.
Oh, it's the biggest horror. Yes.
Oh, it's
Nobody else will ever
terrible.
understand. It's so gross.
There's something to be said about those family bathrooms where you can have someone that's
Oh,
close to
yeah.
you come in with you.
Yeah.
So,
I
Yes.
think there should be one in every venue, facility, restaurant, everywhere.
yeah, yeah.
I'm a big
You
advocate.
know, that was something else when we were in England, where the public washrooms were above and beyond. You know, the toilet, it's like you don't have to go searching for the toilet roll or holder or the hook behind the door, because you don't want to put your purse or
Mhm.
your cane, because it'll
No.
fall if you try
Yeah.
and prop it up and all the rest of it. And
I think
Yeah,
that kind of comes under accessibility too. Like, how accessible are these bathrooms and places you go,
yeah.
Very
and
true.
shopping, like online stores? Oh, I
Oh
had a
my gosh.
horrible experience this morning with an online website. I was trying to buy one thing and it took me, I'm not kidding, it probably took me half an hour because the
Oh,
website was just so not accessible. But
Oh,
that's a whole other subject. We should.
oh yeah.
We need to get into this one next time, ladies.
oh yeah,
Accessibility
yeah.
in
I
all
agree.
areas. Look out,
It
corporate world, we're coming after you.
Yep.
it affects every part. Yeah, well, every one
Every
of us
part
and
of
every part of
it
our
does.
life too.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really does. And it
And we
puts you off
deserve
shopping. Sorry,
we deserve the accessibility. We deserve to have every opportunity that anybody else has. It should be made accessible to us. We it just should be. We
Yeah.
shouldn't be discriminated against.
But these corporations need to realize that we're not spending our money by
That's right.
shopping on your websites and in your
Nope.
stores because you're not
I
accessible.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
some of them probably don't care, really. They're big corporations.
Yeah, but if they
Yeah.
realized how much money they were losing, Elizabeth, by not
Yes.
having us shopping,
Yeah.
because if we don't go on our own, we go with husbands.
We
Yes.
go
a couple
where
of
we're
shop-
treated well and where the
Yeah.
accessibility lies. That's yes, I'm
Mhm.
very loyal to companies and stores and restaurants that do cater.
Yeah.
They will always get my business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like
If you'd like to continue this conversation, we invite you to join us in the Cauldron on the International Blind Cafe Discord server and the Facebook group.